Hello everyone and welcome on today's adventure. I just want to preface this video with a clip from the end point of where I got to, as far as I did get to, which wasn't the actual summit. When I do get a successful summit on this one, I will put a link to the video right up here. If you don't see one right now, that means I didn't get it yet. But hopefully when you're watching this, you'll be able to click on that to be able to see a successful summit of this. Hello everyone and welcome on another adventure. Today we are in the Santan Mountains, southeast of Phoenix, and we are going to climb Goldmine Mountain. We are at the Goldmine trailhead, and we are going to take the Goldmine Trail most of the way up. Keep in mind that the Goldmine trailhead is the north entrance of the Santan Mountains Regional Park, and not the main entrance. You can get there from the main entrance too, but this is the way that we're going today. It should be about 4 miles round trip, and it's going to be half on trail and half off trail. But let's get going. We're coming up on our first junction now with the Dynamite Trail. What we're going to do is we're going to continue straight on the Goldmine Trail. As I mentioned before, we'll be on the Goldmine Trail the entire time until we get to the off trail section. So we'll just continue on. I think that should be our only junction though until we get to the off-trail section. After a fair bit of climbing, we've made it up to the first saddle on the ridge line that's just north of the Goldmine Mountain ridge line. And fair amount meaning we've got about 570 feet of elevation gain in the last mile. Not too bad, but a little bit tough. We're getting a little bit close to sunset. As you can see, the sun's about to dip down below the high point of the Santan Mountains. But back here behind me is our first glimpse of Goldmine Mountain. We're almost to the point where we got to turn off. Let's keep going. Here we are just past that second saddle, and I've come down a little bit because we have this big bump here right in front of us that will end up going back down before we get to the main ridgeline for Goldmine Mountain. So I descended down a little bit. I think I'm gonna keep going down to this point. I don't know if you can see from here, but there's a signpost up there. And I think at that point, I'm going to turn up off trail. I think you could either do this or turn up off trail on the other side of this mountain before you get to this point, before you descend some more. And that might have been the better option, but I think now that I'm down here, I'm gonna go ahead and do this and continue from there and maybe come back down the other side. But as always, I'll have a link to the map of my track below. It looks like we're following a pretty well-worn use path up here on the south side of this ridgeline up to Goldmine Mountain, and so far it looks really nice. So I mentioned before that I might go the other way, but depending on how it looks when I get to that intermediate saddle, I might actually come back down this because this is very well worn and very easy to follow. Here's a nice view on the other side of this mound that I was talking about just a second ago. To the left in this frame is the way I came up. It had a very well-defined user path. And to the right is coming from that upper point of the saddle. And it actually does look like the way I came up is the better way to go. It does look like there's kind of a faint user path on a contour over here, but it definitely does not look as nice as this way I came up with the faint user path on this way. And if we turn around, there's a nice shot of Goldmine Mountain straight up ahead. And we are getting close on sun, so I'll keep going. We're just below a major bump on the trail, and while it might seem that that's probably the summit just because of our approach, looking at the map, it actually looks like it's a false summit. So we're gonna just continue to steer left and follow one of these contours along this side, and then hopefully allow it to catch us back up to the saddle between this false summit and the real summit. And one other note is I actually stumbled upon this site that definitely looks on purpose and man-made. Not exactly sure its history because there's no notes or anything, and we are very off trail, but it might have some very cultural some cultural importance for some of the native peoples. So it's just one more reminder that we are on borrowed land, and not to disturb anything while we're out here, and to leave no trace while we're out here. But let's keep going. A quick note on my last comment about the route: do not take that side hilling route that kind of led to a dead end, and I needed to do a little bit of serious scrambling to get back up to the ridgeline. But here we are back on the ridgeline, and I found a use path again on the ridge. So even if we have to lose a little bit of elevation when we get up and over this fall summit, it's definitely worth it just to follow the ridgeline all the way up, so you don't get yourself in a sticky situation like I did. We are at a sub-peak. You can see the true summit right behind me. And if I turn back around this way, you can see the sun setting right behind me that way. We are only about 2 minutes from actual sunset, and I'm not sure I want to keep going on this off-trail, kind of scrambly climb in the dark. I do have a headlamp, but being out here this far off trail on this technical stuff isn't something somewhere I want to be in the dark. So I think I'm going to call this one. You know, there's always a lesson to be learned with unsuccessful summit attempts. This one quite possibly is a nice lesson in not trying to fit this in if work runs late, and that's okay. A lot of people consider unsuccessful summit attempts to be equal to failures. I don't consider that. I consider the summit to always be optional, and this is just one example of that. I think so far I haven't had a video yet on this channel where I've had to turn around, but I always do, and I think it's important to show this too. So I will definitely be posting this one, and maybe, hopefully, make it back up here for another attempt and a successful summit just a little bit further ahead on another day when I can get out a little earlier. But yes, the summit is always optional, and if turning around is ever a question, it's usually the right answer. We still had a great time on this little afternoon trip, and if you enjoy the views up here like I am, go ahead and hit that like button. I've made it back to the main trail safely, and with a little bit of daylight to spare, even though it might not look like it because I'm probably really dark right now and the lighting is really bad. But I would just like to make a final note on that, and that's that since I got back down here with some daylight to spare, I started second guessing myself, like, oh, could I have made it to the top? And that's perfectly normal when you decide to turn around, especially when we were as close as we were. But I think, you know, all I have to say is don't second guess it, don't worry about it, don't feel bad about it. Like I said, if turning around's ever a question, it's usually the right answer. So sometimes you don't have the right expertise, sometimes you don't have the right gear, and sometimes, like today, you don't have enough daylight, and that's perfectly okay. But as usual, I would love to thank everyone that's made this possible. Even though we didn't make it to the top today, I would love to thank the original stewards of this land. Here we are on the lands of the Hohokam peoples and the Akamel peoples. And I would, of course, love to thank all of you for watching. If you enjoyed this unsuccessful summit attempt trip, remember to hit that like button. And I'll see you at the top, or maybe I won't. Maybe I'll see you halfway up or partway up, but that's okay.